The story of Gideon. In the gentle twilight of ancient Israel, when the morning dew still kissed the wheat fields and the evening breeze carried whispers of distant hills, there lived a young man named Gideon. These were troubled times for the people of Israel, as the Midianites would often sweep across their lands like locusts, taking their crops and leaving families with empty granaries and heavy hearts. On this particular day, Gideon was working in secret, threshing wheat in a winepress, rather than on the usual threshing floor. The golden kernels fell softly as he worked, each precious grain representing hope for his family's survival. The winepress was not meant for this task, but it provided shelter from watchful eyes, hidden from those who might steal the fruits of his labor. As the warm afternoon sun cast long shadows through the olive trees, something extraordinary happened. An angel of the Lord appeared to Gideon, sitting peacefully beneath an oak tree. The presence brought with it a sense of calm and wonder, like the first light of dawn breaking over distant mountains. The angel spoke with a voice as gentle as morning dew, telling Gideon that the Lord was with him, calling him a mighty warrior. Gideon, his heart full of honest questions, responded with the humility of one who had known many difficult days. He wondered aloud why his people had faced such challenges if the Lord was truly with them. His voice was not bitter, but carried the soft weight of one seeking understanding, like a child asking for wisdom from a beloved parent. The air grew still as the angel looked upon Gideon with great compassion, sharing words that would forever change the course of his life. The Lord had chosen him to save Israel from the Midianites. This news settled over Gideon like a warm blanket, both comforting and somewhat overwhelming. Gideon, feeling small beneath the weight of such a calling, spoke of his humble origins. He was the least in his family, from the smallest clan of Manasseh. His words drifted like autumn leaves in a gentle breeze, carrying the natural doubts that often accompany great responsibility. Yet the Lord's response came with the warmth of summer sunshine, promising to be with him through all that was to come, seeking reassurance with a heart full of wonder. Gideon prepared an offering. With careful hands, he made ready some bread and broth, placing them upon a rock with the deliberate care of one performing a sacred task. When fire sprang forth and consumed the offering, Gideon knew in the depths of his soul that he had truly encountered the divine. That night, as stars began to pepper the darkening sky, he built an altar and named it Yahweh Shalom, the Lord is peace. The Lord's first task for Gideon came quietly, like the first whispers of dawn. He was to tear down his father's altar to Baal and cut down the Asherah pole beside it. Under the gentle blanket of night, when the world was wrapped in silence, Gideon and 10 trusted servants carried out this task. They worked with careful purpose, their movements measured and deliberate in the soft darkness. When morning light spilled over the horizon, painting the sky in soft hues of pink and gold, the townspeople discovered what had been done. They came to Gideon's father, Josh, their voices rising with concern. But Josh, with wisdom that seemed to float on the morning air, suggested that if Baal was truly a god, he could defend himself. From that day forward, Gideon was called Jerubbaal, reflecting how he had stood against the false idol. As the days flowed one into another like a peaceful stream, the Midianites and Amalekites gathered in the valley of Jezreel. Their tents spread across the land like morning mist, countless in number. The Spirit of the Lord wrapped around Gideon like a warm embrace, giving him strength for what was to come. Seeking one final confirmation, Gideon laid a wool fleece on the threshing floor. Like a child making a gentle wish, he asked for a sign. The next morning, as the world awakened in soft shades of blue and gold, he found the fleece heavy with dew, while the ground remained dry. Still yearning for complete certainty, he asked once more, this time for the opposite. The following dawn revealed the fleece dry as summer grass, while dew sparkled on the surrounding ground like scattered diamonds. The Lord, understanding Gideon's need for reassurance, now guided him to gather an army. 32,000 men came forward, their footsteps creating a gentle rhythm on the earth. But the Lord, in infinite wisdom, spoke to Gideon with the softness of a parent teaching a precious lesson. This group was too large, for Israel might claim the victory as their own rather than recognizing God's hand in their deliverance. Like leaves falling from autumn trees, the numbers began to drift away. Those who felt afraid were invited to return home, and 22,000 departed with the morning mist. Still, the Lord whispered that too many remained. At the cool water's edge, the remaining men were observed as they drank. Those who lifted the water to their lips while staying alert were chosen, while those who knelt with faces to the water were sent home. In the end, like stars chosen from the vast night sky, only 300 men remained. That evening, as purple shadows lengthened across the valley, the Lord spoke to Gideon with the gentleness of a summer breeze. If any uncertainty still lingered in his heart, he was invited to go down to the Midianite camp with his servant Purah. Under the soft cover of darkness, they crept close to where the enemy slept. There, carried on the night air, they heard a man sharing a dream with his friend. Speaking of a loaf of barley bread tumbling into their camp and overturning a tent. His friend's interpretation floated back to Gideon's ears. This was surely the sword of Gideon, into whose hands God had given Midian. Upon hearing these words carried on the night breeze, Gideon bowed in worship, his heart filling with quiet certainty like a vessel being slowly filled with pure water. Returning to his camp, where 300 faithful men awaited beneath the starlit sky, he began to share his plan with the peaceful assurance of one who walks in divine purpose. Each man was given 3 simple items: a trumpet to be held in one hand, like a herald of dawn, an empty jar, smooth and hollow, to cradle like a precious vessel, and within each jar, a torch waiting to spark the darkness into light, much like hope illuminates the shadows of doubt. These ordinary items would become extraordinary tools in the gentle hands of faith, as evening draped its soft purple mantle across the land. Gideon divided his men into 3 groups. They moved like whispers through the darkness, surrounding the Midianite camp where countless tents stretched across the valley floor like ripples on a midnight lake. The enemy soldiers slept peacefully, unaware of the quiet transformation about to unfold in their midst. At Gideon's signal, as gentle as a mother's touch, the night erupted into a symphony of light and sound. 300 jars shattered against the earth, their breaking as soft as rainfall on dry ground. 300 torches blazed forth like earthbound stars, turning the darkness into dawn. 300 trumpets sounded, their notes floating across the valley like birds taking wing. And 300 voices called out in unison, speaking of the Lord and of Gideon, their words carried on the wind like seeds of destiny. The Midianite camp awoke to this ethereal display, their confusion blooming like night flowers. In the dancing torchlight and swirling shadows, the Lord filled their hearts with such uncertainty that they began to turn their swords upon each other. Like autumn leaves scattered by a sudden wind, they fled into the darkness, their retreat stretching towards the Jordan River. As the first light of dawn painted the sky in gentle hues of rose and gold, word of the victory spread across the land like morning dew. The men of Israel gathered to pursue those who had fled, their footsteps falling like soft rain upon the earth. The waters of the Jordan River flowed steadily as they crossed, nature itself seeming to pause and witness this moment of divine deliverance. When all was accomplished, and peace settled over the land like a soft blanket, the people turned to Gideon with hearts full of gratitude. They wished to make him their king, to have him rule over them like the mighty cedars that rule the forests. But Gideon, his heart full of humble wisdom, declined with the gentleness of a summer breeze. He reminded them that the Lord alone should rule over their hearts, like the sun rules the day and the stars guide the night. For 40 years, peace rested upon the land. The fields flourished with golden grain, swaying gently in the wind like waves upon a peaceful sea. Children grew strong and healthy, their laughter carrying across the valleys like birdsong. The people remembered the Lord's deliverance through Gideon, passing the story down like a precious heirloom from one generation to the next. As we rest here in the quiet of evening, letting Gideon's story settle in our hearts like seeds in fertile soil, we can draw forth gentle wisdom for our own lives. We learn that the Lord often chooses the humble to accomplish great things, just as the smallest seed can grow into the mightiest tree. We see how doubt can transform into faith as soft and sure as the changing of seasons. We understand that victory does not always require strength in numbers, but rather trust in divine guidance. Like a bird trusting the invisible currents of air beneath its wings, perhaps most tenderly, We learn that our own feelings of inadequacy need not hinder us from our calling. Like Gideon threshing wheat in a winepress, we may feel small and hidden, yet the Lord sees the warrior spirit within us. Our questions and needs for reassurance are met with patience as endless as the stars above, and our willingness to step forward in faith, even with trembling steps, can lead to transformation as profound as night becoming day.